Next up is the creation of the skirting board, or baseboard as it's known in other countries such as the US. This is the board that goes along the bottom edge of the wall, usually made out of wood. So let's get straight into that, and we'll go into our top view, and what we're going to do, we're going to create a linear spline that sits on the inside of the wall. So let's get into that, go into linear spline, and create a first point there. Try to keep it as close to the inside wall as you can, but we can adjust this afterwards, so it's not majorly essential at this point. Next point goes there, and we'll go down to here and create our next point here, and we'll go along here, and our next point will go here. Just make sure the axis is as close as you can by eye. Move that up to there. As this part of the room won't be seen, we're only making a suggestion that there's going to be a door here, so it's not essential that we have to end the skirting board where the door will begin. So we'll literally just trace it around the entire outline of the room. But obviously if there would be a door here and it was going to be seen, then we would break the spline here and carry on here. So let's carry on into here, and then our last point is up there where we started, so we'll just simply select close spline. The way we're going to achieve a detail skirting board is we're going to sweep a detail profile along this outer spline. So let's get into creating the profile, and then we can drop both of these splines into a sweep node to give us the result we're after. So if we create a new scene and go to press F3 and go into our right view, then I'm going to press Shift V, and in the back tag I'm going to call in the skirting image that you'll have on in your folder. It's a little bit on the large side so far, so let's just scale that down by holding down the 2 key, and I'm literally going to just trace around this image. It's a little bit heavy as well at the moment, as in opacity wise, so I'm going to knock down opacity or increase the transparency. I just need a basic outline to see where my points need to go, so I'll try about 75, and again I'm going to use a linear spline because all this extra curvature we can add afterwards by amending the points. So linear, and add a point there. And what I find sometimes is when you're working quite a close-up view is your axes tend to get in the way a little bit, because obviously I want to add a point there, but at the moment it's selecting the axis and I don't want that. So temporarily I'm just going to go into the tools menu and select show axis, which will make that disappear, so we can kind of get on with our job without being hindered too much. We'll square these up afterwards. We'll move the points at a closer up view, so we'll just get a basic shape for now, and worry about that afterwards. So another point there, we'll add another point there, another point there, we'll just move our way up, another point there, we'll put one there. I won't worry too much about that dip there, so I'll put one there, and I'll put one there, and again to finish off we'll go to close spline. Now I'm just going to make sure that these splines are at least straight on as much as possible. So the spline at the bottom you can see slightly lower than it should be, so I'm just going to use the marquee select tool. So at that point, in fact now I do need the axis to be shown, so we'll go back into the tools menu and select show axis, move that up so it's kind of square, close enough. Right, so we're going to add some curvature to this now. So at this angle here we want this to have a curved edge, so we'll select those 2 points and we'll go into the structure, edit spline menu, and we'll select chamfer. Now click and hold and just drag your mouse to the right just add a little bit of curvature to the points. I think that's close enough for me. And then we'll do the same at this point here. If you press the space bar, it will go back to the previous tool. Let's press the space bar again, and it will go back to the chamfer tool. So just add a little bit of curvature to that. Now if I go into the move tool, I want to move these back a bit. Just move them down a little bit. I'm going to actually move this point down as well. And I'm going to select that point there. And I'm going to again go into Edit Spline, Chamfer. Just add an extra bit of detail. It's not essential, but it's always nice. It's the little details that make a scene more realistic than the next one. If you skip on details, people generally tend to pick up the fact that you're either a bit lazy or a bit less accomplished than you should be. So it's always nice, I find, to have these extra little bits of detail. I might add a little bit of curvature to that one as well. Again, chamfer. Just a little bit, and that is the profile of our spline. Now it's time to bring this newly created spline into our existing scene to use as a profile to be swept. So let's just go into the model tool and select our spline. We'll copy that and paste it into our room scene. In fact, we can probably delete the other scene now. We don't need that anymore. Right. So again, in this scene, it's currently selected selected as points mode, but we need to go back into the model tool. In our right view, we can't really see what's going on. So let's change our display to lines. And that's our profile. As you can see, it's a bit too big. So in fact, we'll rename this so we know where we are with our splines. We'll call this one Profile, and we'll call the other spline that runs around the wall, let's just call that something like Outline, just to differentiate the two. I'm going to actually scale this down now so it's a bit more fitting with the size it should be in the room. We'll guess it again. We can scale this afterwards. So what we need to do is we need to create a sweep NURB, and then what we'll do, we'll drag our outline followed by the spline into the sweep NURB. Excuse me, that should be the other way around. The profile should be first. And as you can see, it's not only is it probably too big, but the profile we've created is actually a little bit lopsided at the moment. Which is basically because the axis isn't the way it should be. So what we'll do, if we go into the Object Axis tool, and we'll change this around. So for instance, the heading and the pitch is wrong, so we'll change the heading to 90 degrees and the pitch to 180. Now if we bring this up so it's just touching the floor, it's probably still a bit too large actually. Lock the X and Y axis, so we've just got it on the Y, so we can actually move it up and down, and it's quite large at the moment. For instance, if you look at the side view, we'll take the front view. So that's quite a high skirting board. So what we need to do is scale down the profile. So that should be approximately the right size. And again, just bring this down so it touches the floor. So that skirting board runs around the outside of the room. And that should be an approximate. In fact, if I close in on this angle, you'll see how it looks. It's just that extra detail that we created earlier. So let's just go to Garage Shading with Lines. You'll see that you've got this lovely kind of straight edge with a little bit of extra detail. And again, when this is lit and rendered, it will just add that extra little bit of something to the scene. So it's worth spending time creating a nice profile rather than a flat rectangle or a cube to use on your baseboard, skirting board, whatever you want to call it. It will just add that extra bit of detail to the scene. And again, once everything is in place, You can make this higher or shorter, whatever you think suits. I mean, generally a skirting or baseboard is roughly around 10 centimeters in height. So if you want to be specific, go for that. If not, again, if it looks okay, then it is. So there you go, that's your skirting board.